So I've played Sayano Uta, and I've read Oyasumi Punpun, and I've watched 2016 Berserk. But the other day I was laying on my bed and I was scrolling through YouTube shorts, and I thought to myself, what would be the most messed up anime and manga to watch? So I picked out two of them to share with you guys today. Shoujo Tsubaki and
I changed which one this was.
these series are both well known in the anime community. Back in the day, they used to be known for being the most messed up stuff out there. But this is my first time trying to, go into them and react to them. So hopefully I can bring you guys along and you guys can enjoy this series with me. So without further ado, let's get going with the first series, Shoujo Tsubaki.
So Shoujo Tsubaki. I actually just got off watching and reading everything for this video, and man, it's rough. It gets rough. But getting right into it, Shoujo Tsubaki is serialized in Garo magazine in 1983. The Shoujo Tsubaki was a Showa-era Guro story about a poor flower seller named Mizuki, who by some extreme circumstances finds herself at a circus with performers that continually abuse her. In 1993, it was translated for English audiences, and it was under the title Mr. Arashi's Amazing Freak Show. And in 2016, there was actually a live-action adaptation by Toriko. The manga was then adapted into a short anime film around 45 minutes by Hiroshi Harada, and that's the film that I watched. The film was mostly done in prints and cells made by Harada, and actually as far as I can tell, it looks like almost the entire film was done by him alone, taking him about 5 years to complete. And according to the wiki, he wasn't able to find any sponsors considering the subject matter, so that's why it took him that long to do. Most of the film is just static images with audio playing over it, and sometimes just some basic animation put in there. Like there was one time when she was just clapping her hands at something. The audio is also like really, really bad. At the beginning of the movie and at the very end, it has this scene where it's just a bunch of yokai drawings that get popped on with a flash of lightning in the background. And then as soon as it really gets into it, there's this scene of a city, and it's just hits you with like this peaking audio music and just city sounds that are just way too loud and just destroy your eardrums. I don't know if that was just like because the audio I was listening to was so compressed, or if that's what it actually sounded like, but it was pretty unpleasant, honestly. The series is also considered one of the most controversial anime, and it's actually banned in Japan, which is why I decided to watch it. But yeah, as I said, not that bad, and I'll go over to my past self for him to explain what he feels right after watching it.
I'm not wearing a different shirt, you are. Anyway, I just got done watching Shoujo Tsubaki. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Really, the worst parts just come from the animation and then the just weird sound effects and stuff that they have through it. Honestly, the mixing of the audio is just really bad and crunchy in general. And then it also runs like a slideshow. There's not much animation going on. A lot of the time, it's the character sitting there with their mouth open and just voiceover going on over it. Anyway, yeah, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like a couple things that happen. She starts out on the road and she meets this guy and he says he'll protect her, and then she realizes that her mom is dead and there's like rats all over her for some reason. And then she goes and meets him, and it turns out he runs the circus, and everyone there is just like super abusive to her. Like there's a point where she like finds puppies and she starts taking care of them, and one of the people come over and just like steps on them and kills them, and it shows everything, like all the gory detail, and then they eat it and make her eat it. So like it's just a lot of stuff like that where a lot of horror aspects come into play. It's really not that bad. Probably one of the worst parts is early on in the short, one of the guys tries and forces himself on her. That idea kind of stipulates throughout the story. Yeah, it's just weird. And then by the end, she's finally starting to get out with this abusive relationship with the circus through this guy that she met. It's this magician guy. And by the time she finally gets out, someone just stabs him and he dies on the street. She starts running around the city and she sees like ghosts of the people from the circus. And then she starts crying, and that's the end of the movie. The movie really didn't make much sense. I'm sure if I read the manga beforehand, it would have made a lot more sense. But yeah, not as bad as I thought it was. You know, if I would recommend it, probably not, because it just like wasn't good. There's like no reason to watch it. So there's another part that happens where this magic guy comes in, and immediately, like, he's a full-grown adult, and our main character is like a kid, but he immediately starts to fall for her, and it's not portrayed as a problematic relationship, really, which is kind of awkward. They end up getting married, and he's kind of protecting her from everybody else. Everybody likes his performances, so the circus starts getting money. He starts abusing her, and then he realizes that he's abusing her, apologizes. He like gets mad at all the people coming to the circus, and they explain it as like he's using ancient Chinese magic, and somehow he turns everyone into just like these horrible, twisted, disformed creatures. It's just like, oh yeah, that's just sleight of hand Chinese magic. It really doesn't make much sense. Another problem with it is just like the pacing and the timing of everything that happens. It's just rapid fire of just events, and you kind of just have to like process what's happening and immediately move on and process the next thing. And they don't really explain anything to you. Like these characters just like pop up, and you're just supposed to know what the characters are and what they do immediately. Also, if you're like not into gory scenes or like sexual related scenes, don't watch this, because there's not a lot in here, but there definitely is some, and it's very uncomfortable.
So I fucked up with this one. I decided to go into this one blind, and that was really not a good idea. By the way, Redditors suck at giving suggestions. I went through so many subreddits only to find things like AOT and Promised Neverland are the most messed up things I've ever read. So if you're trying to find stuff like that, don't go to Reddit, they're very unreliable. Anyway, the one I decided to read was Mai-chan's Ordinary Life, and oh my god, was this terrible. Who the hell even writes something like this? Basically, this revolves around the character Mai, who can heal from literally anything. She works as a maid for people who can do anything to her. It's an Eroguro, and if you don't know what that means, honestly, the extreme guru isn't something that really gets to me. It's just like the subject matter and the way the story is written that gets me. It really just feels like the author just wanted to make up the worst things possible just for the sake of it and then throw it in his story. Also, another thing to mention about this author, Waita Uziga, is that he's definitely a very questionable person. I mean, to write things like this, you would kind of have to be, but he also wrote an Eroguro story about a real-life murder, which is honestly just really messed up. Akidiris did a video on that, so if I can figure out how to link things correctly, I'll put the video in the top corner or in the description down below if you want to read that. But then I decided that because I couldn't really cover Mai-chan in the video because of the subject matter, I should pick something else, so I decided to read DeadTube, written by Mikoto Yamaguchi and illustrated by Toota Kitagawa. DeadTube is about this guy in high school who's brought into the world of filming the most messed up videos for an online site called DeadTube. I know, it's a creative name. Honestly, I didn't really read far into this one either, because the biggest problem with the series is that it's just so boring. They talk so much, and every time something shocking happens, I just never really felt anything. It just kind of felt like nothing mattered, which is like the only thing you need to do for extreme horror stories, and the series just kind of fails at that in my opinion. For example, there's this part very early on where we have this group, and they just start dying out of nowhere, and it almost feels as though the characters really don't even care all that much either. And honestly, at this point, I was feeling pretty bummed out about this video. Nothing was working out, I really wasn't able to find anything good, until I saw the one and only Hikari Club. Written by Norimizu Amiya and illustrated by Usamaru Furuya, this series was a godsend. The first thing that got my attention with the series was the freaking amazing art. There's just so many absolutely gorgeous panels in this book, and it really helps to set the scene and tone for this story. Now, this story isn't necessarily the most messed up story out there, and there's not even that much gore in it, at least compared to some of the other stuff that's out there, but I feel like with every story, including extreme horror, if the actual story part isn't good, then what's the point of writing it? It's definitely possible to have some extreme gore stuff in a story, for that story to actually be good and have a reason to exist other than, man, don't guts and sexual violence really just gross you out? The series is about the titular Hikari Club, which is a group of middle schoolers who have devolved into a cult. And there's also some really heavy Nazi themes within the group. The group revolves around how the world they live in is just ugly and how it's their job to fix it. They end up making a robot called Lychee to kidnap women, and if you've ever read Frankenstein, this is basically just another iteration of the monster. This manga was released in 2005 and was actually an adaptation from a play in 1986, and in 2012, the play was revived. There was also an anime along the lines of Ao Oni OVA shorts, if you've seen that, where they just kind of make the series a bit more comical, and it's like in this chibi art style. But that's about it for this section, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass it on to Pasto Gummy.
So yeah, as I'm sure I just explained, I read Mai-chan's Ordinary Life, DeadTube, and Hikari Club. First and foremost, Mai-chan's Ordinary Life. Don't read this story. It's not worth it. It's not good. It's an Eroguro, and it just like, from beginning to end, nothing but gore and sexual scenes, and it's just not in good taste either. Did not appreciate this one. Barely read it. I kind of just like scrolled through some of it and then clicked off. And then I read through DeadTube. DeadTube was definitely a lot better. This one was actually a manga series, not just the Eroguro stuff. Basically, we have our main character who's a filmmaker, and he ends up meeting this girl who's on the swim team, and she asks him to film her for 3 days. And so for 3 days straight, he's filming her. By the end of it, she asks for him to film her and a guy kissing. In the middle of this, while he's filming that, she kills the guy, just outright. She has a bat in her hands and just smashes his head in. The main character gets aroused by this, and he decides to stick around with her. Eventually, she explains that all of this film is going to a site called DeadTube, where the main goal is to try and make the most messed up video and outdo each other in it. She ends up getting one of the top spots from this, and because of that, he's dragged in further to do worse and worse things and film it all. Not a very great story in my opinion. Really, the coolest thing they have is the death scenes. The art's pretty good, but past that, there's not really any substance to the stories. It's just kind of there. So pick this up if you want. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not a great story. Moving on, we've got Hikari Club. Now this one was amazing. This was the greatest story out of all of them. The art was really good. The pacing was really good. Characters were done very well and explained very well. You still got your hardcore horror stuff in there, like a lot of gore. There's a lot of sexual themes in there, sexual violence. But in general, very well done. This story is about a middle school club that turned into this cult where they kill people, and it's all focused on what beauty is and how they can achieve beauty. Biggest main character is this character named Zara, who's kind of the leader of the group, and their main goal is making this robot. They end up making this robot called Lychee. Now Lychee's goal is to go and find beautiful women and steal them. But he's a robot, so he really has no understanding of what beautiful women are. So to fix this, they try and add some more coding, and eventually they get it when they tell him to act human. Eventually he ends up bringing in this pretty girl, and at night, when everyone's away, she wakes up and she talks to him. And she shows him through her actions what it actually means to be human. During the day, the club meets, and they're at each other's throats all the time. Even at the beginning, Zara references the Bible with, "One of you is going to betray me." And so that theme kind of runs throughout the story, with people just betraying each other left and right. This ends up causing a lot of them to die. And so by the end of the story, Zara's at his wit's end, and everything's coming to a close. He tells the robot to drown the girl. This brings up this really awesome scene where it shows this beautifully drawn circuitry that zooms out to show this heart, implying that this is the robot's heart, and that the robot has actually learned what it means to become human and goes past his programming to kill all the other people. That's another thing about this story. Gorgeous art, absolutely amazing art. One of the first panels you see is a panel of all of the kids in the club in front of Zara, and it's just beautifully arranged. Getting back to the story though, everything kind of compounds into this one big ending, and by the end the girl ends up walking free. It's a very good story. That's about as much as I'm going to get into it, because I do want to make a video on this by itself because it was that good. Stick around because I'll hopefully be putting that video up soon. And if you guys have any other recommendations for other horror manga, some more extreme stuff like this, hopefully nothing Eroguro, because I'm kind of done with that, please put them in the comments down below. I'd love to read it and do a video on it.